Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the TBM crew. Today I have with me Marcus Hawke. Hello, Marcus. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh,
Why
thank
don't
you.
you tell us a bit
I'm
about
happy to
you?
be here. A bit about me. Oh boy, this is every time. What is it about when it always conjures up like some classroom memory, Like, why don't you come to the front of the class and tell us about yourself? I never know what to say. Anyway, I am I'm a writer primarily of horror and dark fiction
Mhm.
from Canada.
Yes.
Um, and have currently one uh, book and one novel and some shorter works, done some stories in different anthologies and things like that.
Yes.
And I'm currently working on a number of other things, another book, another collection, and I live.
Yeah. So
But
how would you
geez,
define your style?
my
Which kind
style.
of horror do you think are you in?
Well, it kind of varies. I mean, some of what I do is it's a little more dark or like dark, but then there's also lots of, like, for example, in this one,
Yes. The miracle
sin,
scene. We
like,
need to talk about this
uh,
one.
sure. um
Yes.
it's I'd say, like, it's definitely it's dark and there's lots of horror in it, and visceral elements and things like that, but there's
Mm-hmm.
also lots of heart, there's lots of humor, there's philosophy, there's ideas, and things that I think just kind of make for a good conversation and to make people feel good. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
can, funnily enough, in horror, like, that's something that people don't always expect. It can happen. And then there's other things that I have, like the story that's in this one, that is
Mm-hmm.
not going to make you feel good so much about anything, about humanity, about that sort of thing.
That's
So
what
it
horror is
it
about,
ranges,
after
right?
all.
And I mean, it is. There's, I mean, it's a different. It's very interesting to try and work, or to try and see people why people like horror, or whether
Mm-hmm.
it's metal or anything. Like, it's kind of like, if you get it, you
Yes.
get it. If
Yes.
you don't, it's hard to explain to somebody. You know what I mean?
Yes. Do you think it's more like a kind of psychological horror, or maybe more bloody or splatterpunk?
It
What is your perfect
it's
reader?
That's a good question. I For myself personally, I mean, I do like a lot of, I mean, anything that's atmospheric enough to be able to unnerve me. Like, one of my favorite books ever is Misery by Stephen King.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that whole story takes place, for anyone who, in a cabin, in basically a hostage situation, spanned, over the course of several months, between these two
Yes.
characters. And that's a story that is hard to make work, but if done properly, it can be like, yeah, there was things that unnerved me in that. It's from, being able to hear that somebody is in another room, but not being able to see what's going on, that kind of
Hmm.
thing. So
Yes.
if you have that working for you, it's great. But then there's also a place for just, straight up, another one that's a favorite of mine is The Troop by Nick Cutter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely more intense, but there's also a lot of body horror in it, and it's just really well written. So I mean, it really, I don't know, it's that's I don't know if there's like a perfect mix, or like any one type that's,
Mm-hmm.
I think it really is a spectrum,
Yes. And coming back to the miracle scene, tell us a bit about the thread.
Yeah. Have you ever wondered if there's more to life? If we are destined for something great? If we are part of a divine plan rather than just subjects of random chaos? Mason Cole has wondered these things, and he answered, no. How could it be when his parents were killed in a cataclysmic earthquake, he alone survived? How could he be destined for great things when he's stuck in a town-shaped rest stop where nothing he does makes a difference? And why would God do this to him in the first place? Then one day a stranger passes through town, bringing with him a unique explanation of his past, one he never imagined and wishes he could forget. Now with a red-haired devil hell-bent on possessing him for his own sinister gains, Mason must discover the answers to these questions if he ever hopes to survive in a world where the dark no longer hides the things that dwell there.
Hey, okay.
How was that?
Tell me a bit about the characters. Which one is the one you relate to? We only have that one.
Well, so I mean, probably the main character. He's very around. I like to say he's he's not me, but we have lots in common. So he very much. I think it's in a way something that lots of people can relate to, about feeling stuck where you are and like you're just kind of going day to day and nothing, you know. Maybe not nothing, but you know, sometimes it can feel that way, right? Like if there's an element of repetition or dissatisfaction with our daily grind and things like that, and wishing there was something more. So it starts from that sort of that things had been left ordinary, you know.
Yes, well, there's a lot of horror stories or threats that start from our mind. I mean, sometimes it just we need a breaking point, you know, so our mind snaps, and sometimes that starts with a routine, a tedious routine, right? So it's so that's good, because then there's always the person that can relate to that, you know, like, well, maybe, you know, and they can identify themselves with certain feelings. So, and I think that's what grabs readers a lot. Well, readers or any kind of horror fan. Well, which kind of influence do you think you have in this book?
There's lots of different things that I think came through on it, like things that I've liked from the past. But one thing that definitely had at least some influence on it was Dracula.
Yes.
Because there's, I don't, if for anyone who's read it, there's a notable lack of in the book of the main character in it, but his presence is sort of all throughout.
Yes.
Like that, if he's not in the one story that had an influence on the book was Dracula, because for anyone who isn't familiar with the book, it's the book itself versus any movies in which that they've adapted. Dracula himself isn't actually in it a lot.
Yes.
It's more an influence that is felt throughout the story, and that he has on the actions of the characters and on their minds and things like that. Anything that's going on in the story is because of him. So that's sort of something that definitely had an influence on me as far as the villain from this is concerned. Is I wanted there to sort of be sort of like an overall sort of feel that if he was, things were, you know, there's an effect he was having on the other characters. Yeah.
Okay. And do you think maybe, did you have the idea of taking one of the characters, one of the side characters, and maybe making a side book from it? Because sometimes that happens. Sometimes one of the characters you expect the less, it becomes a good protagonist for another kind of story.
That's true. It can't. There are a few characters that people, anyone who's read and appreciated the story has said, what about, you know, doing a spin-off of this one or that one? And I don't think so much that right now I do, but there are a few characters I would like to, like in the next, this is actually the first book in a series, so the next book will definitely get to sort of look at some of the other ones and expand on them a little bit, so that we can get to know them even better than they have appeared in the first one. One character that I hear almost, you know, without fail, is that the villain, actually Novak, people want to would like
Okay.
to see maybe a solo book about him, and I've thought about it, so it's possible.
Yes.
It won't be soon for sure because there's a few things that have to sort of happen first, but that's possible. I've thought about it.
Okay. And which projects do you have next then before that happens?
Yeah, the next. So right now I'm working on the second book for
Mm-hmm.
this, and even before that, I'm working on a collection of short stories, basically made up of the ones that I've had appear in Bitter Chills,
Okay.
Parasite Gods,
Mm-hmm.
and a few others that I don't actually have physical copies of right now. Excuse me.
Yes.
But yeah, that's gonna in September. It's called Acts of Violence, and it's made up of stories that have been published and then some that haven't. So it's a
Yes.
mix of old and new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay. Well,
and
you will have to keep us updated about that.
I definitely will.
Which, with your experience writing, it's something I like to ask to authors. Which or what would be your advice to new authors? Something you would fix in your past if you could, in your writing career.
Honestly, the best advice I would give to any
Mm-hmm.
new authors at all is to just keep going.
Yeah.
It's really, really hard to make patience, faith in yourself, trust that that things are going to work out. And
Hmm.
it's, at times really, it can be disheartening, especially if I mean, I submitted stories for, they start the question whether it's worth the time and the effort, because it takes a long time to write things and submit them all and all that. So basically just keep going, trust yourself, be kind to
Mm-hmm.
yourself, keep the
Yes.
faith. I was once told, actually, there's something I recount in one of my there's a
Mm-hmm.
short story where I recount basically that I got some words of advice from somebody that
Uh-huh. Yes.
who's probably favorite author, Anne Rice.
Yes. Okay.
Once upon a time, I
Mm-hmm.
if I can start a story in such a way, I was written fan fiction and somehow gotten the attention of a
Mm-hmm.
publishing company, gotten a deal and all this stuff.
Yes.
And I think I commented something like, people, someone writes fan fiction and gets a publishing
Mm.
contract, and I can't even
Mm-hmm.
get a short story to save my life, right? And she
Yes.
wrote back to me. She actually responded and said, "Keep the faith. If it's not a foot race, and if she can make it, so can you."
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
I, from that day forward, took that as holy writ, pretty much. It was
Like a
very
mantra.
encouraging. Oh yeah, very much so. Like it's something I remind myself all the time, and it's not easy. Like even now, like there's a lot of work that goes into being an author, especially a self-published or independent author or small press or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's a one-man band kind of thing. So basically, to anyone who's just starting out, just go easy on you. Don't give up. Never give up.
Yes. I guess for authors, something that is very difficult is to process bad reviews, for example. It holds hands
That can
what
be
you were
too.
saying. Yeah, it's difficult to go on and to keep going with your writing, and sometimes you get a bad review and maybe it affects you. How do you process bad
Yeah.
reviews? What do you do with them?
Well, when they happen, and they do happen,
To
you
everyone, actually, because
to
in
everyone.
anything we do in life, not
Yeah.
everyone likes us. So
Basically, what happens at first is, you feel down about yourself, but ultimately you just have to really, remind yourself that everyone has their opinion. Not everything you do is going to be liked by everybody. And it's okay, as long as that's why that's part of the
yes.
keeping true to yourself.
Hmm.
If you're writing, if you are proud of it, no one can take that away from you. So it's just it takes time and it takes some getting used to.
Mm-hmm.
But same rejection for if you submit to stories to magazines or other publications and aren't getting anywhere with it, just keep going because you never know what can happen. It's really true.
Hmm. Yes, it's true because
It's hard.
sometimes,
It's hard sometimes, but you can.
yeah, yes, it's true. I think sometimes, for example, I have read books that I loved, and then I saw people leaving bad reviews on them.
Mhm.
I mean, sometimes that you get a
Yeah.
bad review, it doesn't mean that the book is bad. It means that you
No.
crashed with the with someone that just, because sometimes bad reviews are so unfair. A lot of times if you read bad reviews, they're like, it's not my thing. Well, is it not your thing? Don't leave a 1-star review. I mean, just be fair. And
Yeah.
yes, and see what the book. I read lots of books and I watch lots of movies that people send to me, and not all of them are my cup of tea at all, but I can see the
No.
good things in them. I mean, I prefer this kind of horror, but this is good because this and that and that and that. I mean, a lot of people is unfair and you cannot rely on bad reviews. I understand they have to be painful sometimes, but I agree. I mean, they are there. Okay, a lot of times in life you do something people don't like, or they just don't get it, or they don't understand you. Well, that's it, just move on, right?
Agreed. No, absolutely. And I appreciate yourself and anybody who is able to look at it that way, because you're right, not everything is for everyone,
Mm.
but some people, you're right, do get very incensed about it, like it's a waste of their time, and then they take it out on the book. And I think they forget or maybe don't care that there's actually a person behind that who put a lot of time. You can
Exactly.
say that you didn't like something and that it's not for you and not be nasty about it. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
that when people go to that length, I don't really understand or care for that, but it happens, so you have to be prepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm very much the same. I don't like, I mean, if I ever review anything on like on my
Mm-hmm.
Instagram page
Yes.
or anything like that, I don't even get into stars. I don't like doing stars. I
Yeah,
just
I
talk
don't
about
like
how
it
it made me
either.
feel, what I thought about it.
Hmm.
I've actually I've started doing something at the end, instead saying read if you like, and then some familiar titles or some other titles that might be similar, or even movies, like read this if you liked,
Hmm.
you know, John Carpenter's Vampires, or
Yes.
Evil Dead or something like that,
Yes.
because then that
Mm-hmm.
way it puts the people who might actually like something with
Mm-hmm.
where it belongs, rather than trying to go by something vague like a star rating, because that's
Yeah.
very arbitrary. And I
Yes.
understand the purpose of it for things like Amazon and Goodreads, but itself, I don't feel like I want to use those.
Yeah, me neither. I completely agree because I think they are
Yeah.
very unfair, the stars. Because, for example, when I review a book, it's well written, it's interesting, I liked it. I mean, I'm not like amazed by that, but it's a good book. It has a lot of work behind, and I think it deserves a 5-star review. But then you think, what about when you find a book that beyond that, it blows your mind? Then, well, there's no more stars, like how do you make the difference between that? The first book
Yeah.
deserves the 5 stars because it's a good book, it's interesting, it's exciting, a good thread, good characters. But if you give it a 5, it means that it's the same that book that you loved so much. But if you give it 4 stars, you're saying they did something wrong, because otherwise, why aren't you giving the 5 stars? So
Yeah.
it's,
And
I hate it. I never know what to do with the stars. Never. I would give 5 stars to everyone because I can't even write one paragraph. So to me, it blows my mind that someone can write a full novel. I think everyone deserves the 5 stars. So the starting from that point, I never
hey,
know what to
it
do.
blows my mind too. Yeah, I know it's it's a strange metric that we've come up with somehow, and I don't.
I wanted to ask you, which is your best moment writing a book? What is the best for you in the process?
In the process, well,
Editing?
no, you know what? I mean, that's a good question, because like, honestly, the writing of a book is hard. It's a lot of work. You put in a lot of hours just writing the thing, but then editing it and
Yeah.
everything. And I mean, of course, you have help when there's an editor who goes and checks, things like that, but also just like cutting things out that you may really like, but it may not necessarily need to be there. That's a tough thing to do. But I think when you can finally, like, honestly, the first day that I held this in my hands, that I'd had in mind for years and was working on for years, really, like, and finally saw something from my mind come, and that I could hold, that had a cover, that had a smell, that had, that was, honestly, that was a great day. That was, yeah.
Absolutely.
May have cried a little bit.
Okay. And where can readers find you? They want to look for you and your work.
So yeah, it's so far I'm exclusively on Amazon right now. I'm working on trying to get things into some other retailers and things like that. So Amazon to buy things. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I just joined. That's a little bit of both. It's sort of like for fun and work work and pleasure, I guess.
Yes.
And
that's a good combination.
What else? I think so. It's, hey, if you can do both things, enjoy them and get to talk to people and things like that, that's a good time right there.
Absolutely. It's so lovely to talk to you, but we ran out of time.
Too bad.
Do you have a final message for our readers?
Basically just thank you. Thank you to them, thank you to you, and and when this is always, this is what I always like to remind people: if you're done reading, please leave a review. That helps. It helps us. It helps visibility. It helps other people find our work. So read and review. That's my motto.
Absolutely. Yes. Then we will link everything below so everyone can check you out and your work. And thank you so much for being here with me today, for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay, then we'll keep in touch. Okay. And have a lovely day. Enjoy your day. It just starts, right?
You too. Thank you. It just started for me. Yeah.
Yes, it's finishing for me.
Buenos dias.
Okay, then have a lovely day and thank you so much.
Buenas noches. Thank you.